While flatbreads like naan, pita, and roti are among the quickest breads a home cook can whip up in a short amount of time, they often still require multiple resting periods and extended kneading time. This rules them out for a weeknight meal. The naan-like substance we'll be making in this video, however, is not at all dependent on gluten development, so it requires very little kneading and only one resting period. Plus, it only has 4 ingredients. Let's take a look at it. Bring 1 1/4 cups of water up to a boil in a pot on the stove. While that comes up to temperature, combine 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt in a large mixing bowl, stirring thoroughly. Once your water comes up to a boil, measure out 1 cup and pour it into the flour along with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Using hot water makes the dough much easier to mix together and roll out with only a little kneading, and also results in a softer bread at the end. This does come at the cost of gluten development, which is why you don't see hot water called for in many bread recipes. Stir together the ingredients with a wooden spoon until the dough is cool enough to work with your hands. Knead the dough until the flour is completely hydrated, then transfer it to a lightly floured workspace. Continue kneading until a smooth and cohesive dough is formed, then shape it into a large ball. Separate the dough into 8 pieces by first cutting it in half, then the halves into quarters, and finally the quarters into eighths. Form these into small balls, then cover with a damp towel for at least 15 minutes or until you're ready to cook them. If you're making these as part of a weeknight dinner, you can prep out the rest of your meal at this point and then come back to finish the bread at the very end. I'll actually be dropping a step-by-step video of a meal I like to make using these, which I'll link here, but for now, let's just make a garlic butter to top our flatbreads with. Toss 1 cubed cold stick of butter into a pot, reserving 2 cubes, and add 3 minced garlic cloves and 10 cranks of black pepper. Cook using medium heat for a few minutes until you see the first piece of minced garlic begin to turn a light brown. Kill the heat and immediately stir in the reserved cubes of butter before the garlic burns and set the mixture aside. Now let's get back to the flatbread. Shape the ball of dough into a flat circular disc and then roll it out until approximately 1/4 inch thick. You can stack your dough on a plate with a sheet of parchment in between each piece of dough. Preheat a cast iron or any other skillet over medium heat. Take your dough and carefully toss it back and forth between your hands to knock off any excess flour which would burn if you threw it in the pan. Add a splash of oil to your pan and toss your dough in, allowing it to cook for about 30 seconds as bubbles form. Flip your bread over to cook the other side, again for about 30 to 45 seconds. Then take your bread out of the pan and place it on a towel-lined plate, covering to keep warm while you cook the rest of the bread. Before eating, brush on your garlic and top with fresh parsley and a little bit of flaky salt. These are seriously so good, like I've eaten 5 while filming the video. It may take 1 or 2 testers to get your heat just right, but once you do, it'll be smooth sailing. Well, that's gonna do it for me today. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it or subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out and I'd appreciate it. Later, nerds. Crash Course Kitchen. Crash Course Kitchen. It's hard